mark.
In my stumbling, humble opinion, the character Ripley in Aliens is the best female protagonist of any action movie. The concept of a female protagonist, specifically in action movies, is something that the media pretends is a recent phenomenon.
What would a female hero like this have meant to you growing up?
The thing is, I was always a book person, not a film person, really. All the heroes I needed were in books. Books have never discriminated quite in the way films did.
They act as if strong female characters in film is something new, a product of our progressive, contemporary, female-friendly world. I have problems with this sentiment. For starters, these modern movies are often bad, and therefore fail at their alleged task. Many of them come off as lazy and opportunistic. These films aren't about telling a good story. They're often just a way for media corporations to virtue signal about how woke and feminist they are. So the political message on gender found in the film, no matter how moral it might actually be, often ends up coming across as heavy-handed and, more than anything else, insincere.
What does it mean to be a woman in film?
It means it's really hard. And if you're a woman of color, then it's really, really hard.
I need you to fix his suit.
The suit is literal perfection.
It will be. When it fits a woman.
Female Bruce Wayne.
I love you guys.
Oh!
I was geeking out during your slow-mo scene when they had the Ray Parker Jr. music come in. I was like, I had nerd tears streaming. They put black bars on the top and the bottom of the screen so the 3D actually leaps over the screen. So so when you guys are shooting your proton packs, like the streams go out of the screen into the black area of the bottom of the screen. It's sick. You guys gotta see it. Yeah, I want to see it awesome.
These movies usually don't make the strides for feminism that they claim. They end up kind of doing the opposite. Besides the females in the cast and crew of the actual film, they really don't empower women. And they certainly don't make the more traditionally minded men in the audience more tolerant of females in masculine roles. I think this is mainly because the phoniness of the films is obvious. You see, people actually can tell when they're being pandered to. Audiences aren't as stupid and backwards as Brie Larson thinks they are.
Am I saying that I hate white dudes?
In a majority of cases, this new progressive Hollywood is not doing a good job at inventing this girl boss action hero. Don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with progressivism in general, and some of these films are very good, but the overwhelming majority of them fail for the reasons I just mentioned. But all of this is irrelevant because the fact is, the strong female character is nothing new. Hollywood has been making movies with powerful female leads for decades. This isn't some miracle of leftist modernity. And thank God for this, because while the modern Hollywood machine has produced failure after failure, there have been some classic movies that use this strategy to perfection. I'm talking about masterpieces of action filmmaking. I think the film that towers above all others in this category is James Cameron's 1986 sci-fi masterpiece Aliens, and its character of Ripley, played brilliantly by Sigourney Weaver. James Cameron must have a thing for strong females. The character he created with Linda Hamilton in the first two Terminators is also a great example. He likes his ladies strong and smart. Just look at who he was married to, Catherine Bigelow, who went on to become a great filmmaker in her own right. While James Cameron was making shit like Avatar and trying to chase his sinking career or maybe arrive early to hell, she was making The Hurt Locker, a fantastic film that could be considered on par with her ex-husband's works. Then she made Zero Dark 30, a film that uses the strong and smart female protagonist to great effect. One of the reasons that this character works so well is because her gender doesn't really matter that much. Her gender is certainly an aspect of her, as you'd expect, but you could swap the character with a man and his goals and abilities would be just the same as hers. She's simply a human being who's good at her job, trying to complete her mission. Maybe one could even see this as a metaphor or a statement of how Catherine herself felt. She didn't want to make a good female movie, she just wanted to make a good movie. She wanted the gender of herself and her lead character to have no bearing on the quality or perception of the film. Pure equality between the sexes, the definition of feminism. But I'm also not saying that the only way a powerful female character can be good is if she acts like a man. In fact, I'm going to spend the rest of this video saying the opposite. A strong female character that's interchangeable with a male can be good, but there are also great examples of strong female characters that must be female, whose gender and femininity defines them, and in the process makes the movie better, makes it what it is. In my mind, the best example of this category is, you guessed it, Aliens. So let's talk about it. But first, I should probably say that I'll be talking about the special edition of Aliens, not the theatrical cut. The special edition adds an extra near 20 minutes to the original, and within these 20 extra minutes are scenes that are beyond crucial for what I'm about to talk about here. It really is the only version of the film you should watch, and it's a shame that they cut out what they did for the theatrical release. If you haven't seen the special edition, you should change that and go watch it, but if you don't feel like it right now, don't worry, I'll fill you in on everything you missed. Aliens is set right after the events of the first Alien film, at least from Ripley's perspective. Remember, she just survived and defeated this terrifying threat that wiped out the rest of her crew. As the film begins, we see Ripley and her pet cat in cryosleep floating through space. Once Ripley is awake, she's informed that she's been in cryosleep for quite some time. For 80 years. In the special edition of the film, we get this extra scene. In it, we learn that Ripley has a daughter back on Earth. Maybe this scene was cut because it was too sad or something, but either way, it's incredibly important to the overall theme of this film.
Amanda Ripley McLaren, married name, I guess, age 66. And that was at the time of her death, which was 2 years ago.
I promised her that I'd be home for her birthday. Her 11th birthday.
We learn that since 80 years have gone by, Ripley's daughter is now dead. She grew up her whole life with her mother gone, lost in space, a time for which Ripley passed instantaneously. To make matters worse, the Weyland Corporation is angry with her. They want to know why their expensive ship was destroyed. She tells them the events of the first Alien film, that her team discovered an alien life form on planet LV-426, which they were surveying. The alien destroyed the ship and its crew, and only she was able to escape. The corporation tells her this is impossible because for many years, a colony of humans has been living on LV-426.
There have been people there for over 20 years, and they never complained about any hostile organism.
What do you mean? How many are there? How many colonists?
I don't know, 60, maybe 70 families. Do you mind?
The corporate board strips Ripley of her pilot's license and basically tells her she's crazy. So, without a career or any living friends or family, and with the feeling that she abandoned her now dead child, Ripley falls into a depression, with her only source of socializing being, of course, the cat she rescued. But a few months later, the colony on LV-426 goes dark. The corporation begins to suspect that Ripley may have been telling the truth. So Ripley's quickly thrusted into a military operation to investigate and secure the unresponsive colony. Also, quick side note, the entire look of the Marines in the Halo franchise is totally taken from the Marines in Aliens. I guess a lot of the story elements are borrowed from it as well. I mean, there's even a Sergeant Johnson type character.
It's a rescue mission. You'll love it. There's some juicy colonist daughters we have to rescue from their virginity.
Hey, you sure wouldn't mind getting some more of that Arturian poontang? Remember that time?
Yeah, the one that you had was male.
To these troops, Ripley appears weak. This most likely isn't entirely due to her being female, though. In this world, possibly the toughest member of the squad of soldiers is a female, along with the pilot.
Hey, Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Ripley doesn't fit in with the soldiers. But how could she? When they start the mission, Ripley is weak and terrified. She's the only one who knows what's waiting for them. She's been left traumatized by the alien and doesn't want to confront any more of them. She only reluctantly agreed to take part in this investigation because she literally had nothing else to live for. But after they arrive at the colony and learn that everyone has vanished, something changes. Ripley finds a lone survivor, much like how she was found in the beginning of the film. But it's even more meaningful than this. She finds a child, a little girl named Newt. This ignites something in her. Ripley imprints on Newt, viewing her as a second chance for motherhood, and thus giving a reason to survive this dangerous mission. But survival is about to get a lot harder. After finally figuring out the location of the colonists, or at least their corpses, the soldiers move in to secure the location. And if you allow me another quick side note, I just want to point out how ahead of its time the military strategies and technology are in this film. All of the soldiers have helmet-mounted cameras, allowing the squad commander to see their points of view from back in the command vehicle. He controls them as if he's giving commands in a video game. He always knows exactly where they are and what angles are being covered. It's the perfect way to give orders. This doesn't have anything to do with the topic of this video. I just love the care that went into this movie, the world and the technology within it. It's just on a level of its own. What the squad of soldiers face here isn't just one alien like Ripley did before. As the clever title of the film would suggest, there are many. This is a nest of aliens. With all the colonists having been dragged here alive for their bodies to be used as hosts to grow the litter, this threat is way worse than they could have imagined.
Talk to me.
To me, Gone! Get them out of there! Shut up. Hicks, whoever's left, get the hell out of here! God damn it! Where's the phone?
The aliens wipe out a majority of the squad, and the commander immediately cracks under pressure. He freezes up in the heat of the conflict, leaving the few fleeing soldiers who remain for dead. But Ripley has a stronger will than this man. Yes, she's experienced this stress before, but more than this, she now has a reason to push forward. She leaps into action and saves the surviving soldiers, and after doing this, the soldiers who once mocked her now see that they should listen to her. She's thrusted into the leadership position of the remaining men, not because she asked for it, or because she was the highest rank or the toughest looking among them, but because her actions, her character, showed the soldiers that she's their best chance at survival. She becomes responsible for all their lives because she is the only one who can do it. She becomes the protective mother of not just her new surrogate daughter, Newt, but to everyone in the group. But this is not at all easy for her because she isn't a super soldier. What makes Ripley strong isn't her ability to fight, it's her will, her intuition, her courage, her leadership abilities, all of which grow stronger as the film goes on. She doesn't just possess the skills to beat the bad guys in the beginning of the movie. She doesn't come pre-programmed with a gift for action and violence. She starts out frail and defenseless, as we'd expect her to be. She's been through a lot, but she still is no soldier. But by the time the film ends, she's become so much more than this. She doesn't start the film blasting aliens with machine guns. She must be taught how to use the weapons. She must develop defensive strategies and learn about the soldiers she's left with to understand how each one can aid the survival of the team. Also, in the beginning of the film, the love interest for Ripley seems to be Burke, the corporate man, but as it turns out, he's kind of a snake. The real love interest is Hicks, the strong, macho, and highest-ranking soldier among the survivors. But as traditional as this seems at first, he ends up being wounded, and she ends up saving him.
Get her off!
This is what a good protagonist looks like. She has a reason to fight, and when she fights, it's believable. The audience isn't simply told in the beginning that she's a badass. We watch the character earn the title for herself. But what I love most about Aliens is the theme of motherhood. Near the end of the film, this becomes most clear. When the survivors are finally able to flee the planet, Newt is snatched away by a horde of aliens. The shot of Newt's baby doll tells us so much. Newt has taken comfort in caring for her baby in the same way Ripley has for her, but now she's lost her grip on it. So Ripley is forced to go back into the heart of the alien nest to save Newt before she's used in the sickly breeding process. And what does Ripley find at the heart of the nest? What does Ripley have to face off against? Another mother, just like her. The alien queen may look disgusting and horrifying to Ripley, but it's merely doing exactly what she is, caring for and defending her young. This is an amazing scene of sci-fi horror, but it also speaks on something much deeper, on nature, on the fact that the most dangerous thing in nature is a female protecting its offspring. If you stumble across a bear in the woods, you should be scared. But if you stumble across a mother bear with her cubs, you should pray. This is why Ripley being a female is so important. Yes, she overcomes seemingly insurmountable obstacles and ends up leading a team of ultra-masculine soldiers. Yes, she becomes not only one of the male soldiers, but the best soldiers, and this makes her a phenomenally strong character. But it's the theme of motherhood that sets her apart, because while she can learn to fight like men, she has something within her that the men can never have. She can create life, and will do whatever necessary to preserve and grow it. And now, I'm not saying that a female character can only be good if it's a mother. I'm not saying that all a woman can ever be is a mother. But being a mother is something only a woman can do. There are many things that can drive people, but at the end of the day, the grandest purpose of life, in general, is to make more life. And if art exists to strike chords within us, the most primal and important driver within us is usually a pretty good place to strike when trying to make an impact with your art. You wouldn't expect it from an 80s action sci-fi blockbuster, but Aliens uses everything I've just mentioned to be damned impactful. So, like I was saying before, in my opinion, there are two types of female-led action movies. There are those with good female characters who are interchangeable with male protagonists. They're just good characters, regardless of gender. And then there are the films where the gender absolutely matters, where the themes are inextricably linked to femininity. While it seems modern movies often fail at attempting this, Aliens hits it out of the park. Ripley is the perfect female protagonist. Her strength isn't given, it's earned. And while her femininity isn't the constant focus of the story, it's a crucial part of it.